Tuesday media availability with quarterback Chase Garbers. We'll go ahead and get started with Trace Travers from Rivals.
Hey, Chase, good to see you this evening. Just to start, the UCLA game was 2 days ago, obviously. What did you kind of see when you were reviewing the tape?
Well, obviously it's disappointing to go out there and have the result that, that occurred a couple days ago. But looking at the tape, a lot of learning lessons. The tape actually was not as bad as we thought it was going to be. There was a couple good moments. Obviously you got to clean some things up on both sides of the ball, but overall it was a good learning lesson.
Yeah, was there anything that specifically stood out for you as far as cleaning up from your end? Or
I think, as a side of the ball, I think, there's a lot of things, nothing really specific, just, overall technique and fundamental stuff that, we got to work on day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. And with that, what have you guys, from what Coach Wilcox said, you started preparing for Oregon State yesterday. What has been the focus so far over these first 2 days?
The focus has definitely been bring, a certain type of energy, bring the physicality and mentally lock in. I think today, having the defensive line back, for the first time in about 14 days was awesome. Definitely one of the most physical practices we've had since about fall camp of 2019, I would say. And the energy that was at practice today was outstanding on both sides of the ball. A lot of pads popping, a lot of plays being made. It was really awesome to see, especially, having the D-line back.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chase.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Jake Curtis from Cal Sports Report.
Yeah, Chase. Why do you think the offense will be better this week?
I think, obviously we'll have a game under our belt. I think we'll be better because, especially up front, the offensive line hasn't touched anybody in 14 days, with the D-line being out. So, going against UCLA was their first time going against a live defense front in about 2 weeks. So, having the D-line back will definitely help, our guys up front, on the outside and in the running back room. I think, just having that game, we could actually have, full preparation practices leading up to it because, these past 2 weeks haven't been, real practices, with D-line out. We can only do so many things. But with the D-line back, we're going to go at it full steam ahead.
Can you expand on that a little bit? I mean, how much of a difference does it make having your defensive line as far as offensive preparation?
Well, for starters, you can't run the ball because there's no defensive line there for the O-line to block. So it's a lot of passing with no pass rush. So it's very unrealistic. But, we did what we had to do in those circumstances. But definitely having the D-line back today was awesome to get all those live looks, get the pads popping in the run game. We'll carry that into tomorrow and then into Thursday and then into Saturday.
And could you expand a little bit? You said it was the most physical practice you've had in a while. How so? In what way?
Just the level of hitting we were doing, obviously we don't go live in practice, but, people were squaring up on each other in the hole. Wideouts were being really physical, blocking. The offensive line was, when they were pulling or doing on double teams, they were moving people, and on defense as well. The linebackers were fitting up, hitting. It was a very physical practice. You could definitely hear the pads popping from outside the stadium.
And last thing, is that unusual for a Tuesday?
No, Tuesday's more of our physical practices, but it definitely was a lot more physical than usual and definitely a lot more physical than we have seen probably since last fall camp.
Thanks.
Okay, Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Hey, Chase, obviously offense is largely rhythm-based, and I can't imagine you guys could have gotten into much of a rhythm the last couple of weeks, not having a D-line to practice against and all the other guys that were out too. Do you feel like after this first practice, you can kind of feel that rhythm coming back where the offense might be able to get into a better flow?
Yeah, totally. I think, being able to run all your plays that you want to run in practice will definitely attribute to that rhythm. Obviously on Saturday, the offense didn't really get into a rhythm at all. We had one 14-play drive, but there were still a lot of third downs that needed to be executed. Too many 3-and-outs, which, you can never get into a rhythm when you go 3-and-out. But I think, with this week of practice, the way we're looking at it as from a mindset standpoint. I think, we'll get into a rhythm and then carry that over into Saturday.
We saw a little bit of the young guys being incorporated in here and there in the offense this last weekend. What kind of a role do you see for some of those freshmen coming up this next week, kind of moving forward?
I see a big role. Obviously, this year doesn't count towards eligibility, so we could play them as much as we want. So I think, the way that they've stepped up, mentally, especially with the complex playbook that we have, it's truly something special. And, as a veteran quarterback, you like to see the young guys get in there and know what they're doing. It's one thing if you have a young guy, you got to tell them what to do every single play. But, these guys are locked in, they know what they're doing, and, that'll pay a huge dividend later down the line, whether it's, this week or weeks coming.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. See who's next here. Next, we'll go back to Trace Travers.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what have you seen in the early going on Oregon State's defense?
Yeah, Oregon State's a very talented team. Their front seven is pretty physical. They played Washington last week, who's similar offensively to us, so very physical run game, which you saw on the tape. I mean, you could, obviously there's no sound, but you could definitely hear there were some collisions being made. They played very sound, in their defense, whatever defense they got called. So overall, I mean, they're pretty talented. It's definitely not going to be a light game. It's definitely going to be another grind game. But overall, we look forward to get up to Corvallis and coming out with the win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to Jake Curtis.
Yeah, Chase, you're a captain now. Did you have any particular message to the team in the last day or two?
Well, I'm not the most talkative guy, more of a lead by example type, but, especially yesterday, we technically had an off day, but we kind of gathered around as a team and kind of discussed some things on, how we weren't going to go out there on this Saturday and kind of do the same thing we did a day ago when we were talking to yesterday. So obviously you gotta rally the troops. It's obviously disappointing loss, but you got to flush it, and you just got to work to be better every day.
Looking back at UCLA for a second, when you look at that, is there one thing you say, oh, we got to change this? Is there any particular thing you said we got to get better at a certain thing?
Not so much a certain thing. I mean, there's all plays that we wish we could have back. All plays we wish we could do better on, but you got to dissect the film, take the teaching, take the criticism, and then, build on that day in and day out to where those mistakes don't happen again.
Thanks.
And we'll go to Jim McGill, Barron Center.
Chase, you made a huge leap forward last year after your redshirt freshman season where you're getting your feet wet initially. How much of that was related to you being a student of the game, really taking the time to break down the opponents and knowing what you were seeing out on the field is just maturing as a quarterback? Because obviously you didn't have much of that opportunity going into UCLA with the one-day prep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the mental side of playing quarterback is very important. Having only one day prep of UCLA, there's only so much you could do film-wise. But we knew what they were going to run. Credit to Coach Az and what he did. He threw it all at us, was very aggressive in his play calling. Saw some things that we didn't see from the week before against Colorado, but, you have to adjust on the fly. So I think, we did what we were expecting from UCLA after one day prep. We knew what we were going to get. And, unfortunately, we came out with a loss.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Jasper Sundin from the Daily Cal.
Jake stole my question.
Okay. Guys, anybody else have a final question for Chase? Give you about 3 seconds here in the chat. If not, we'll let him go. Okay, Chase, looks like you're